And we'll be going live in just a second. This is the segment of the show where I just throw this screen up here. We give it a couple of seconds to let the notifications go out, and a couple more seconds to let my clock on the wall stop bong bong bonging for the top of the hour. And it sounds like it's done. So, hey y'all, happy Sunday. Hope everybody's doing well out there in the chat. This is, what is this, live Q&A number 38. Holy cow. And today we're going to talk about the video I released earlier today that was part 2 of the shelf project I'm making for my wife's weaving studio. Let me turn my light on. I forgot to do that now, and I got to adjust it again here. You know, you'd think that I would be used to doing this stuff by now, but no, what fun would that be? So, as you can see, I've got my fur going here, my quarantine fur. So, let's see. Go down the list here and take a little bit of a roll call, see who's joining us today. Ice Cream 62. Hope everybody over there, you and yours, are doing well today. Richard Poulin, thank you very much. Happy Mother's Day to yours, as a matter of fact. Let's see. Terry Hurst, Stephen Osborne, Nita Huizar. Let's see. Okay. Hopefully I got that right and didn't just butcher it. Steve Nealon from Harneal Media, the gentleman who sponsors Mark Lindsay CNC.com, which I still need to go update. Sorry, I'm a little behind. Jack Painter, Jeff Rozak, and Jason Cross, Thomas Grimm, Dave Kraus. Good morning. How you doing? Well, I guess I can start saying good afternoon. It's 2 minutes after 12 out here on the wonderful West Coast. Let's see. Ayal Peleg checking in from Israel. Let's see. Thomas Grimm, I think I mentioned you, but if not, welcome aboard. Andrew W. from Canada. Cold outside, but nice and warm in here. I'm with you. Let's see. Steve Late from London. Aaron Hansen. Bumps is in the house. From the Lake District in the UK, where I'm staying very safe. Hope you're doing the same. Bob Filson, Kevin Els from South Africa. Holy cow, I think you get the furthest traveled award. Let's see, Dennis Mills, Bob Heltebridal, poster of all things rude, crude, socially unacceptable, also known as funny. Dave Matthews, Dave Gatton, the man, the myth, the legend, the guru himself. Thanks for checking in, Dave. Let's see, Mike Wiley, Francisco Paz from Rio de Janeiro. Donald Walls, my first live with you. Well, welcome aboard. Hopefully you aren't scarred for life. Let's see, Mike Wiley, same, and same for you. John Cousins from Wood If I Could. There's Mervyn over at Poppy's Woodshed. See, Dan Coffee. I need more. Hold on. Okay. If I can't pronounce the word coffee, I need more. Steve Robinson, Kent Mays, Walker Woodall, Keith Sanford, Tony Palillo. Let me see if I got that right. Dave Richard checking in from Florida. Rodney Roberts from Des Moines. Mario Medina from Tijuana. Mario sent me a list of some of the more common species they get in Mexico, translated the names into Spanish. And the one that surprised me, the one that I did not know, was, did you know that encino is Spanish for oak? I had no idea. So, hey, what can you say? Manfred Muller from Bavaria. V. Gates. Let's see, Peter Coughlin, Daniel Snyder, Aunt Mike, okay, from New Haven, Connecticut. So let's go ahead and get into the big question that everybody has been asking, and that is, why did I use a pocket toolpath to drill those holes and ramp in the pocket? And my only answer is habit. Normally, when I pocket holes like that, I'm pocketing several holes, and usually they're of different sizes. So I've just gotten into the habit of not using the drilling toolpath and pocketing all of my holes. So yes, you could use the drilling toolpath. I would use a peck drill and just make sure you use an upcut. I didn't even think about it when I did that video. And we need to remember, I recorded that video back in November. This is the project that I've been working on all this time, and I finally got the weather to get everything painted up. So I'm just used to pocketing out holes like that. About 8 times out of 10, I'm also doing a countersink, a counterbore for the hole, so I can just do it all at once and be done with it. But yeah, so naturally it became a habit. I just jump over to the pocket toolpath whenever I'm drilling a hole. So that's why I did that. Now, feel free to use the drilling toolpath if you'd prefer. It would work perfectly. I just got into the habit of using pockets, so that's what I do. I'll work on it, though. So there were a few questions back up here about that and a few other things. Let's see. Nita Huizar wants to know, she says, newbie here, making my first cuts today. Any tips? Yes. Start conservative. Go slow. You can always speed up as you get more confident in it. Go slow. Keep your hand near the emergency stop button. And if it starts to go any direction it's not supposed to go, hit that emergency stop button, back up, reset, and hopefully you're using some scrap wood that you can afford to throw away. Okay? You're going to be intimidated by it. You're going to be nervous about it. Just keep your fingers near the panic button and you'll do all right. Let's see, Stephen Osborne, is there any way to post a photo to this chat for reference purposes? No, there is not. You can't post any links. You can't post any photos, sound files, anything like that. YouTube runs a fairly tight ship on that, and there's no way for me to enable it and allow you to do that. Sorry. Let's see, Jack Painter. Can you hit a little bit on ramping? It's not quite clear to me. I'm going to be doing a video on ramps and leads, and that'll be coming up in a few weeks. I've got 3 more videos in line after today, and then I'll probably get into leads and ramps after that. Both real useful, kind of related, but kind of not. And it's a way to help avoid bit deflection and keep from getting that little score mark as you're plunging straight into the material on the initial cut. So I use them quite a bit, as a matter of fact. I don't use leads much, but I do ramps a lot. Steve Nealon, Harneal Media, that was my questions. 2. How do you ramp a 1/4-inch bit into a 1/4-inch hole? Very carefully. Let's see. Jeff Rozak got to hit the beach in Florida. First time in 2.5 months. Times is hard not being able to hit the beach. Man, try it up here in Oregon. We just got out of the rain. Let's see. Stephen Osborne purchased a Freud bit set. Fine detail 3-piece set, having issues loading these bits into the tool file correctly using VCarve desktop. I'll put some links in the description. I did a couple of videos on adding tools to the Toolpath database. And see, tool database. I'll link those videos in the description of this live Q&A after we go off the air here and it becomes just a standard video. It basically, there's There's several ways of entering a tool in the database, the easiest of which is to find a tool that's similar. It doesn't have to be identical, but find a tool that's similar that's already there, copy it, and then change that copy to reflect the new bit. But we'll go into different methods in those videos. So let's see. Let's see. Jason Cross. Hello, Mark and everyone from a cold and windy England. Total newbie. Just wondered if you can take a photo of, say, a car and turn it into G-code. Not in one step like that, no. You can do a bitmap trace on it. Depending upon the software, you could even 3D model it. Then calculate tool paths, then carve it. Convert to G-code, generate G-code, save that G-code, and then carve. But it's not quite that easy. Brand new to 3D modeling and still getting into it. Haven't really posted many videos on it just yet. I got to get a little bit more confident in my abilities. So let's see. Richard wants to know, is there any reason why you don't use the drilling toolpath? Yeah, as I said before, it's habit. Stephen Osborne also, how can I reset the tool database back to the original when I got the program? I'll put a link to a video Vectric did on exactly that down in the description of this video. So let's see. Let me cruise down here and catch up and keep up. No opening commercial, Thomas? Well, don't know what to tell you. Let's see. Yeah, okay. I think I've caught up. What do you know? Okay. Ayal, it might be possible for the person that asked about images in the chat to email a picture and have us show it and answer his question next week. That's possible. It just depends on what it is. But yeah, it's possible. Okay, let's see here. Ayal also wants to know, this is more of a meta question. What software do you use to edit your video? I use Corel Video Studio 10, but I'm hesitant to recommend it mainly because it does a very good job. It's very easy to use. The problem is it likes to crash, and it crashes at odd times. If I've made a cut and removed a scene, then I go to play it without saving it first, it will crash. And that's a known issue with Video Studio. So I've just gotten used to, when I cut, remove a scene, or do any kind of editing at all, I save before I start trying to play it again. And that helps a lot. It does a very good job. There are a lot of effects in it that I don't even use. I like the interface, and it's fairly easy to learn. But again, I have a hard time recommending it because of the crash issue. So let's see. Roger the Tinker. If you use a smaller end mill than the hole size, you could ramp in on those. You certainly can. Bob Heltebridle. Then drill your holes, change back to the V-bit, do your VCarve, the change to a quarter to do the profile. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it. Let's see. Rodney Roberts, where do you start the model when slicing? I haven't gotten into slicing yet. I've not done any projects that has needed that. But I think I have a couple on the way. And so that's something to look forward to probably in a month or month and a half. Somewhere thereabout. Let's see. MH wants to know, do you use a specific bit when setting your Z? And if you do, why? Yeah, when you set the Z, you use the bit that you're going to be cutting with. And if you change over bits, you reset the Z to match that bit, because you'll never get that bit perfectly in the collet where the previous bit was. So I use a standard end mill when I'm setting my X and Y because of my 3-way touch plate. I use a standard 1/4-inch end mill, set my X and Y with that. Then I swap out for whatever bit I'm going to be cutting with and fasten it into the collet nice and tight, and then I set the Z for that bit. I'll run that Toolpath. Then if there's a tool change involved, I'll shut off the router, do the tool change, install the second bit, reset my Z. You have to set your Z every time you change a bit or every time you put a bit into the collet. So the X and Y don't change unless you move the material, or like I had happen before, power goes out or there's a problem. But once you set your X and Y 0, you leave it alone. You set your Z every time you change a bit. So let's see. Doug Rothenberger, any experience with BodCAD CAM? No, I have no experience at all with BobCAD. The only CAD CAM software I have used with any regularity is VCarve and VCarve and Aspire. Expire. Yeah, paging Dr. Freud. I did get into SolidWorks a little bit, not very much at all. Same with Fusion 360 and the same with Rhino 5. But just about, you might as well say all of my experiences with VCarve and Aspire. I've never used BobCAD at all. So, okay, Aaron Hansen. What does it do when you bake? Okay, when you bake components, you basically have one component at the base of your model stack up, and then you add another component, say, on the top of it. Then you put another component around it, let's say a rope border or something. You select all three of those components and you bake them. You're basically combining them into one single component, which you can then save in Aspire and load into the clip art for use another time. So if you find, for instance, that you're using a particular dish with a particular animal model, and then you're putting, say, a barbed wire border around it, you can bake those three things together into one component, save them in your clip art. Then you don't have to go through all that work of getting it all set up again the next time. You can just load that component, scale it to fit your project, and go. That's where baking really comes in to shine. So, let's see. Dan Coffee. I need to do a project that is 4 feet long. Can you give me some pointers in tiling? Thanks. I can give you one big pointer, and that would be to go hit Peter Passuelo's video on cutting a project too long for your machine. I've not done any tiling. I did a demonstration on Dave Gatton's CNC with Dave show. It's been about 2.5 years ago. But I never actually went out and cut that project, tiled the way it was. That was just done for a demonstration. So I'll link Peter Passuelo's video, and I'll link that CNC with Dave show. Let's see, tiling. When this video ends. I just haven't needed to do it. Mainly because my shop is so ding-dong small that I can't really get anything of any length in it. So I don't even bother trying to do any tile projects. So sorry about that, but Peter Passuelo did a very, very good video on his channel, CNC Nuts. So I'll link that in the description, and I'll link Dave Gatton's CNC with Dave show where we talked about tiling. So let's see. Larry Blair, do you know of any better bitmap tracer than what comes with Aspire? I personally have not used any others. I've heard some folks use Inkscape, some folks use Corel Draw, but I get everything I need done with the Bitmap Trace in VCarve and Aspire. Then again, I'm not trying to do photo quality bitmap tracings. I'm just shooting for vectors. And that's about it. So let me, in fact, when I'm talking about that, somebody asked earlier where I got the picture of the lily pattern in today's video and the bitmap that I traced. And I'll be honest with you, I don't remember. Odds are I went to Pixabay, and I'll put a link in the description to them. Pixabay.com. They are a free repository of images, graphics, vector graphics, bitmaps, and things like that. And it's 100% searchable. And I think I searched, if I didn't get it at Pixabay, it was just a standard Google search. And I searched for flowers because I knew she wanted a flower V-carved into the sides of the brackets there. And if you do a Google search, let me go ahead and bring up some things like that, and it's 100% searchable. Let me go ahead and bring up a Google search here, and I will share it up. Are we sharing now? Yes, we are. I'll search for flower clip art and go over here into images. Now, this is just, and I do this with all kinds of different searches and what have you. We all know to go over here to images, but you come over here to tools, and you can look at type. And if you click on type, I'm looking right now at any type. I can come over here to clip art. And that shows me this clip art, which is fairly, it's more simple. And in fact, there it is right there. Well, no, that's not it. That's part of it. There it is right there. iStock photo. But that's not where I got it from. That's not the site I got it from. I believe I got it from Pixabay. But when you're done searching clip art, if that doesn't work for you, you can come down to line drawing. And that gives you even more simplified patterns that you can go through, see if you can find something you like. And it's a heck of a lot easier to trace that way. And I don't see the one. I believe I found it at Pixabay. But anyway, that's a big help when it comes to using the Google search function for images. The thing to remember, however, is to look for usage rights and make sure that you're not using a copywritten image. And in fact, you can check your usage rights right here, and you can check for labeled for reuse, and you can generally find public domain files that are royalty free. They're free for anybody to use, or go in and modify or do whatever. There are various levels of copyright protection applied to some of these images, but if it's public domain, it's public domain. And that's open and available. Now, just looking this, I like that. That's kind of cool, that treble clef barn star. I may have to, I think I'm going to leave that up because I think that would be a fun project. Okay, well, anyway, so that's the name of that one. Basically just using a standard Google search is where I found that PNG file to trace. But Pixabay is an excellent resource, and it's Pixabay, and I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. So let's see. Yeah, Mark is looking like getting ready to be Santa next year. Wrong. This is my quarantine fur. In fact, it's going to be going away as soon as I get done here because I got to go shoot an outro to a video, to next week's video, as a matter of fact. So let's see. Tony Palio, interested in hearing how you use the dongles for double-sided projects. The dongles, I'm guessing you mean the flash drive. It's pretty basic and pretty straightforward. My CNC uses a separate computer, a freestanding PC, and Mach 3. I just plug the flash drive into the computer and I transfer the files straight over onto that computer. I do not run from a flash drive, never have. And I address that in the video that'll be coming out next Sunday. So let's see. Roger Cox, let's see. If the bottom surface of a pocket is very important, should I use a down cut end mill to avoid tracking and ghosting? There are two schools of thought on that, Roger. Some people swear by down cuts, and some people swear by up cuts. Personally, I find that the bottom surface of a pocket looks better when you use the upcut bit, but you sacrifice quality around the edges. That's just been my experience with them. I prefer either an upcut or sometimes even a straight bit, but you got to be careful with straight bits because not all of them have a cutter that goes all the way across the bottom of the bit, so you will have to ramp in all of your plunge moves, which is a whole nother thing that I'm going to get into on the ramping and the ramp and leads video down the road. But I find, generally speaking, when the bottom surface of the pocket is the important part, an upcut bit gives me a cleaner surface. So let's see. New to PC, this is from Robert Ferguson. New to CNC, secured a Laguna IQ from a local community college who declared it surplus. Good score. Uses rich auto pendant controller. Anyone know how to convert to PC based like Mach 3? I would get a hold of Laguna and I would get into the Laguna support forums. The support forums for most of these CNC manufacturers, the overwhelming majority of the membership are users, guys like you and me, who not employees of Laguna, who have either worked through problems or have been troubleshooting or, are just sharing tips, tricks. But these guys know your machine and they know it very well. I know a couple people who have Laguna IQs. They love it. They love them. So I would be hesitant to recommend a switch over to Mach 3 control. I would get into the Laguna support forum, talk to the folks in there, see what they recommend, see has anybody done what you want to do, or see what their opinion is. It might just be a firmware upgrade. It might be a software upgrade. So that would be my first stop. So let's see. Did that. Let's see. John Regan. Hi, Mark. Just watch your vid on the third carve of Texas wall plate. Amazing carve. How long did the whole machining process take? 3D carve of Texas wall plate. I don't think I did a 3D carve of Texas. In fact, I'm positive I didn't do a 3D carve of Texas. I live in Oregon. So maybe I'm not reading it right, but give me some clarification. So let's see. Robert Ferguson, new to these live chat sessions. Just want to thank Mark. All my training has come from his YouTube videos. Well, there are plenty of videos out there. Get over, in fact, and subscribe to Dave Gatton, number 1. Subscribe to Peter Posuelo, number 2. Subscribe to Vectric. Subscribe to legacy woodworking. Those 4 channels, and I'll put links to all 4 of them in the strict description box of this video. I am not an expert. I'm just trying to help a guy who has never done this before to understand that they can do this stuff. And it's not above your head. If you practice, take a little bit of time, the sky's the limit. You can do this. I stick to the basics. So, let's see. Matthew Haas, All Things YouTube. He does an excellent show. If you're a YouTuber, know a YouTuber, want to learn about YouTube, some of the inside baseball stuff, he does an excellent live show at, I believe you go 7 o'clock Central on, or is it Eastern, on Monday evenings, Matt. Let's see, I know it's 4 o'clock to me. But I don't know. So that would be 7 o'clock Eastern, yeah. Here on YouTube, on the All Things YouTube channel. And it's a fun show. It's a very fun show. A lot of cool information. Let's see. Excuse me. Tony Paolillo, I mean the 2 holes you drilled for when you flip the board. I'm going to have to go back up. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Interested in learning how to use the dowels for double-sided projects. Yeah, that will be on, that will be in next week's video. We actually go outside, not cut the project, and you'll see how I use the dowels and mount the material and then flip it over and everything else. The important part of a double-sided job is to remember a couple of things. I'll get up here into Aspire again. And the important things to remember when you're doing a double-sided, good God, Mark, double-sided job is over here in your job setup. Load up. There you are. Make sure that you remember which direction you're flipping. Okay? Set that up and then remember it. I've got mine set to flip side to side. So I'll flip it end for end this way. If you don't, if you get it confused, you're going to have alignment problems. So if you're going to go side by side, I put my dowel locating holes in an asymmetrical pattern. That way it's foolproof. It will only go on one way. It will not go on the wrong way. If I flip this up bottom for top, those holes will not match. It will not get mounted to the spoil board. The only way I can mount this to the spoil board is to flip it end for end. That's why I do it this way. I've had some people ask me why I don't put one up here in the corner and then copy it to there, because then it is possible to get them wrong. By making them asymmetrical, they will only fit on the spoil board one way, and I'll demonstrate that in next week's video. So, the other thing to remember is get one side of the pattern finalized, finished, before you ever copy any vectors over to the bottom side. Because if you get it partially done and then start copying vectors to the other side and then move a vector, let's say, they no longer match up on the other side. So Control Z to undo that move. And then you have, your only choice is to go to the back side, delete that vector, and then copy this to the other side again. So just make sure you get the whole pattern finalized before you start copying vectors to the other side. That way you'll be guaranteed you have the right alignment. So, remember which side you're going to flip over here in Job Setup, and then get it finalized before you start copying vectors to the other side. And those are the two important things on double-sided machining. So, hope that helped out on that one. let's see. Lenny Lovell, do you VCarve first, then pocket? That's how I do it. I assume that you mean when you're doing a V-carving that uses a large area clearance tool, like an 1/8 inch end mill or something like that. I do all of my V-carve first. Then I come back with that clearance tool and pocket out what's left. Because I find that when you have a thin area that might want to break loose, if I V-carve that first and then go in and clear the material around it, it's less likely to break loose and go flying across the room. So that's what I tend to do. I tend to do my V-carving first, then I do the V-carve clearance second. That's just my choice, so it doesn't really matter. Excuse me. Let's see, all things YouTube. Can I just push a button and have my CNC do everything? Matt, I keep telling you, you can do anything once, except that. It won't do everything. You still have to sand, you still have to prime, you still have to paint. I know, disappointing, isn't it? So, let's see. Let's see. Okay, John Regan. Hi again. It was the CNC 3D Carve in Walnut, Texas and Sherry nameplate on the Shapeoko 3. Yeah, I don't have a Shapeoko, so I think you're confusing me with somebody else. I've never done anything like that. So, let's see what we got here. Jim Sinicola, if you use job setup sheets, it will have all the information to take to the shop. I use it on every project. No confusion. Jim, you're absolutely right. If you go up here, let me make sure I've got this. I'm screen sharing now. If you go up here into, yes, I am. If you go into Aspire and look up here, where's it at? Create job sheet in the Toolpath menu. Create job sheet. It'll create a HTML file that you can either bring up on computer or print. That'll list all of the information of the job. Let's see, I'll go ahead and I'll create one for this and I'll put it right here. Save, and then I'm going to have to go over to that manual. So we've got over here. And where did I put that? I put that in CNC stuff, then yarn shelf. There it is. And here's my job summary right here. Double click it, and there's the job setup sheet. And it shows the project. And then here is material setup, the material block size, home start position, where material flip direction, all of the tool path information, all kinds of stuff about it. The main reason I don't bring some of this stuff up, Jim, is because that is not available in desktop. It's only available in Pro. So unless you have VCarve Pro or Cut 2D Pro, you know, it's not available. It's not available in VCarve Desktop or Cut 2D Desktop. So I try to show things that every user can do. So that's why I don't get into gadgets either, because they're not available in VCarve Desktop or Cut 2D Desktop at all. So, but yes, if you do have Aspire or VCarve Pro or Cut 2D Pro, go into create a job sheet. Very cool file and a very cool option. And it helps out a lot. So, let's see. I think Mario Medina, why not set the holes on the y-axis symmetrical? As I explained earlier, Mario, and as I'll show in the video next week. That way, by making them asymmetrical, that when I flip the piece of material, it can only be mounted one way. I cannot make a mistake, and it will line up. So I'll show that in next week's video. So Dave Gatton, Mark has a much better machine than a Shapeoko, just saying. That is an unbiased opinion, but in my totally biased opinion, I agree 100%. And a lot of people have asked me about the Gatton CNC and what I really think about it, and would I really do it all over again? In a hot second, in a heartbeat. I wouldn't. The only thing I would change, if I had to rebuild that Gatton CNC right now, the only thing I would change would be I wouldn't have made the cutout in the front of the table to mount the rotary axis. That was just unnecessary. And I would have built a bigger shop first so I could build a bigger CNC. I would like a little bit longer. But that's, 100% personal. So by all means, I would do it all over again. I've never had an issue. The only issue I've ever had with that machine have been issues of my own making, where I either forgot to do something, I tried to do something I shouldn't have done, or something like that. So, all right, let's see. We got one last question here. I'll go ahead and throw up there. Robert Ferguson, what does it mean when the layer is in red? Do you mean that the vectors in that layer are red, or do you mean that there's something else going on? I will go into, I'm going to do something behind the scenes here real quick, and let's change this to, let's change that, make that, this is not good, I know. Okay, there we go. I can go ahead and share screen again. Let's just say you have a situation like this where you've got a layer in, if this is what you mean by a layer in red, you can change that color. It's just what color the layer happens to be. If you go up here into the layer manager, just click on the arrow, the drop down menu right here. You'll look and you'll see that layer is red. Just click on that little color swatch and make the layer any color you'd like. So that's the short answer. Hopefully that is the answer you needed. So let's see. Let's see. The menu is red. Okay, in the menu up there, the layer name. If the layer, okay, let me go back up here and we'll do this again here. Okay, so if you have a layer in red, like so, what that means is that is your active layer. Anything you do out here is going to be done on that layer, but that layer is not visible. So one of two things needs to happen. You either need to turn on the visibility for that layer by clicking the light bulb, or if you don't want to work on that layer, you need to click on the name of the layer you do want to work on. That's what that means. That means that that is the active layer, but that layer is not visible. So either turn on the visibility or select another layer. Hope that answers your question. All right. Well, I think, good grief, we've been on here 45 minutes. I don't like to run that long. So, let's see. Rodney Roberts says, I've drilled too many holes in my spoil board and sometimes hard to know the one I just drilled. So now I ensure my board sizes are dead on and use my fence. That is an option. But that's also why I use an auxiliary spoil board, and you'll see what I'm talking about next week. I've referenced next week's video a lot. I need to hurry up and get that edited. Okay. Last question. Pintout says, do you have any suggestions on making a topograph 3D cut of a location? I'm going to assume you are talking about an STL model. Yes, that would be learn everything you can about cutting a 3D project. I'll put a link to my 3D carving for absolute beginners playlist in the description of this video as soon as I get off the air here, and start from square one and work your way through. It's just a 3D carve. It's nothing more than that. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today. I hope I got your questions answered. Next week's video, we'll go outside and cut this thing out. And I'm still debating as to whether or not I'm going to make another video on finishing, because basically it's nothing more than just painting and then spraying some clear coat, which I've already done in other videos. But one way or another, I will show a picture of the finished project mounted up on the wall. So no pressure. That just means I have to get it done now. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me and spending part of your Sunday with me. I really do appreciate it, and hope everybody's doing well. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and if you haven't called your mom in a while, if you can, do so, because it's, the right thing to do. So thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great Sunday. Now get outside and do something cool. Bye-bye.